Good morning, folks. This is day four of the US Open that's about to get underway in about an hour and a bit. Before I get into some of the matches that we need to watch today, a bit of reflection on day three, guys. Two big upsets. Milos Raonic, the fifth seed, losing to Ryan Harrison. I totally didn't see this coming, even though back in the day, I think when they were both breaking onto the circuit together, Ryan Harrison actually had a victory over Milos Raonic, and their head-to-head was 1-1. But since then, their paths have digressed completely. Milos is now in the upper echelons of the rankings, whereas Ryan Harrison was actually a qualifier for this tournament. But as things turned out, Ryan Harrison upset Milos. It was a big upset. Milos seemed to be struggling with the weather, and I think a lot of players at this year's US Open are struggling. Now, generally, at the US Open, this is quite common, but this year, especially with the kind of summer we've had on the eastern coast of North America, I think we're seeing even more evidence of players struggling to cope with the conditions. Another upset that took place was in the night session. Garbine Muguruza, the French Open champion, lost in the second round. It was an incredibly erratic and nervous display, and you really hope for the sake of women's tennis. I know Serena's great; she's an undisputed champion, and we're so lucky to have her. But who is going to be her sustained rival? I feel like since the likes of Justine Henin and Kim Clijsters have retired, there's just been a rotating cast of number twos and threes and fours. Now, Angelique Kerber's had a very consistent year. Even she looked a little nervous in a second round match yesterday. So I hope that she at least makes a final so we at least have a narrative, a Williams Kerber rivalry in 2016 of some sort, because too many of these players fluctuate from hot one tournament to completely cold the next tournament. And I think really women's tennis needs a consistent number two, probably a number three as well. Right, that being said, I'm going to move on to day four. Let's see what's on the docket. There are a few interesting second round matches. I've picked four to watch today: two women's tennis matches and two men's tennis matches. The first one is on Arthur Ashe Court: Lucy Safarova versus Simona Halep. Now, Lucy made the French Open final last year, but she's tailed off since then. Unfortunately, she hasn't been able to sustain that momentum. But as a lefty with that forehand, that angled serve, she is a dangerous opponent. Simona is the clear favorite. I think she should be able to beat Lucy, but with the kind of upsets we've seen these first few rounds, you can't count out Safarova's chances against Halep. I think this is going to be an interesting match, but I've said that for a few, and they've turned out to be damn squibs, as the British would say, anticlimaxes. But let's see how this match goes. All right, next up, Carla Suarez Navarro versus Yelena Yankovic. Of course, Yankovic isn't the force that she used to be. Carla Suarez Navarro is the 11th seed. She's got a great backhand, better all round game, but Yelena has made the finals at the US Open. She can draw on that experience. The crowd supports her when she gets on a roll. So let's see how this match goes. I think it's going to be a close one. I really do believe this is going to be a close one. I can't pick a win on this one, even though Carla is the higher seed. Now, moving on to the men's, an interesting match is Fabio Fognini versus David Ferrer. Now, Fabio Fognini is this sort of, how do you say it, erratic genius. When he's on, he's on. His shot making can leave you breathless. Most of you may remember last year at the US Open, he beat Rafa Nadal after being 2 sets down, 2 sets to love down against Rafa Nadal. He came through in five after a brilliant array of shot making. It really was something to behold. And funnily enough, in the first round, Fognini was also 2 sets down, and he came through in 5 sets. David Ferrer, on the other hand, you guys may remember that on day two, I picked his match against Alexander Dolgopolov to be a match to watch, but as it turned out, it was a retirement. David Ferrer didn't even finish one set, and he came through. So I think that does play an effect because Fognini obviously must be a little fatigued, whereas Ferrer is quite fresh. So I would say Ferrer is the favorite. But that being said, if Fognini gets on a roll, his shot making ability and his ability to find the lines can get him the win over Ferrer. It's quite an interesting match. Ferrer is the favorite, but Fognini has a chance if he's not too fatigued and if he can get on a roll. Finally, the last match, and this one's really exciting. In fact, many people were excited about this as soon as a draw was made, even though it was a potential second round match. And that's Steve Johnson, the highest ranked American man, 19 seed, playing Juan Martin Del Potro, the 2009 US Open champion. Now, Steve Johnson actually, in his first round match against Evgeny Donskoy, saved six, folks, six match points to come through. He was two sets down. He lost 6-4, 6-1 the first two sets. He was being thoroughly outplayed, but he came through in an impressive display of grit and determination. Now, will grit and determination be enough to get past Juan Martin Del Potro? My big fear for Del Potro was after that Olympics, where he played so well, would he be able to sustain that form at the US Open as well? Turns out in the first round, he played quite well. He won in straight sets. He has a better game over Steve Johnson. Forget the rankings, right? We all know that Del Potro's ranking is right now such because of his injury plagued years. But if he was a consistent player in the tournament, he'd be most likely the world number 5. Juan Martin Del Potro's got the bigger game, got the better game, but it's a night session match. It's the last match on Arthur Ashe. And if the American crowd gets behind Steve Johnson, there's every chance that Steve could pull through again. I do think, though, Steve will be a little fatigued, and with Juan Martin's greater power, Juan Martin should have enough to beat him. But I think this could be one of those, every year we have one night match that people remember forever, and this game has the potential to be that. I am going to go with Juan Martin Del Potro to win this match, but most importantly, I hope all of us get to watch a great match. So those are my picks for day 4 at the 2016 US Open. I hope you guys enjoy some great tennis today. See you tomorrow on day 5.